Now we all know that winter carping is always a tricky time of the year to be on the bank because you get the weather conditions against you. You've also got the fish not moving a great deal, which makes them a lot more harder to catch. But if you're persistent with your trips and you get your tactics right, it can also be a very rewarding time of the year to go carping. And this month we're going to take a look at my fishing during December, January and February on the lovely Ladywood lakes over in West Yorkshire, which contain some fantastic fish to mid-40s. So we'll start by rewinding the clock to December, when I had my first trip of the year on here, when I was fortunate enough to land a few fish on my first trip. Morning, and it's been a really cold morning as well, as you can see behind me. Frost on the ground, and my winter target venue this year is going to be Ladywood Lakes, where we are, which is in West Yorkshire. It's got winter form, this venue. It does do some really big fish in the winter, including the big common here, which is known as Kamara. That does get caught in December time usually, so we'll see how we get on. It's a deep water, popular water, quite a few people on the venue at the moment, but it's going to be a nice venue to fish because there's some really good fish in here. And I'm just coming to the end of my first trip of the winter, and it's been pretty successful because I've had 4 fish, nothing big, just over 20 pounds. But at the end of the day, it's always nice to get your first few fish from a new venue, because this water, I have fished it before, but this year it's obviously going to be my winter venue, and to get fish on my first trip on this lake, because it is quite pressured, as you can see, there's quite a few bibbies around. I'm obviously quite happy with that, and it's been pretty cold as well, as you can see behind me, because it's the first frost of the year. We've had one today, and I had one on my first day as well. So yeah, now that kind of weather, it does obviously kill the fishing, but there's been 1 or 2 fish out. That's Ladywood for you. I know there's going to be quite a few others getting caught in the next few weeks as well, because this time of the year it does tend to fish really well into December. It's quite a deep lake, and it's got winter form, which is why I'm down here. But yeah, pretty good start so far. It's going to be exciting fishing, exciting venue to get my teeth into, because it's Yorkshire, which is where I live, and I always think if you can catch your local fish, they're the ones that are a little bit more special to you. So let's have a look at 1 or 2 of the bits that I've filmed, including some of the fish. I've not filmed them all because I had 1 or 2 of them in the dark, but the bigger ones I've got filmed for you now. Well, there you go, there's my first one of this year from Ladywood, and I'm definitely looking forward to this winter's fishing. Lovely start. This one is a bit of an odd-shaped fish. It's got a bit of a bulgy belly and shallow undercarriage, but it's very welcome. Lovely. I'm here now with Gus Thresh, the fishery manager. Gus, you've been here since the start. When did it open, this fishery? How long has it been running now?
We opened 2010.
Yeah. We
stopped the year before the fish were put in, we left them, we fed them, and in late 2010 we opened gate to anglers. It's 12, 13 years.
And what were the biggest fish then, mate?
The average weight of the fish when we stopped were very small. Believe it or not, they were all 3 to 8 pounders. That were 90% of stock. Then with a sprinkling of 4 or 5 better fish, which included Kamara, and I think she would just touching 30 when she went in.
And she's the biggest fish now,
She's
isn't she,
the
mate?
biggest fish stocked. Yeah, she was the biggest fish stocked.
And what is she now? 46?
Just under 47, I think 46.10.
That's a massive fish for Yorkshire.
But we have better. We've got fish that were stocked at 8s, 9s that are now 40.
How many 40s have you got?
Officially, I think on top weight when they're all done, I think there's 5.
Okay.
That's when it won't surprise me if there's 1 or 2 more. There's a couple of mirrors very close, and they don't get caught a lot at all. I think the biggest mirror was 38.
You've got a lot of 30-pounders, haven't you, now as well?
There's a lot of 30s, yeah. A lot went over, a lot of scrapers, you had a lot of high 20s, and in one season, I think it was 2020, just before lockdown, loads went over. So all the 28s go 30s.
So roughly how many fish are in here, mate?
We'd be confident in saying out at original stock. Obviously, you've got your percentage of losses throughout. We've got a good 400, 450. I'd be confident in that kind of.
And how many acres is it?
It's 11.
How many swims?
There's 18 swims.
Okay.
And 4 of them are double swims.
Is it open all year to day ticket anglers?
It is, yeah. 306. We're here 365 days a year, yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a winter ticket as well, haven't you?
We do. Winter ticket, yeah. That runs 1st of March to the 1st of November. It's currently £180.
Yeah, and there's food available as well. Behind there, your missus is here.
Yeah, my Mrs. T, my wife does a food cabin. During winter, that's just a weekend thing.
Does she deliver to swims or?
We do deliver to swims, yeah. If you get your order in for 1 o'clock, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I will deliver all evening meals to swims as well.
Yeah, and you've got showers and toilets on site?
Shower and a toilet, yeah, quite basic but very clean and functionable. So we've got shower, a toilet, a wash cabin on site as well.
And you can drive to all the swims, which makes it even better.
You can, yeah, which is important. Yeah, we found that were very important. So you drive in, you go, you can park next to your swim, 15 yard, and you're fishing.
Brilliant.
So it's
super stuff.
Simple as that.
All right, thanks a lot, mate.
Yeah,
Cheers.
no worries.
Cheers. Right then, I'm back again in swim 1, and it's a week on from when I fished my first session, and it's fishing a lot tougher this trip. I'm 48 hours in and not much is happening, if I'm honest. I've got the rods on the same spots which did my fish last week, and that's the left hand one. I've got down a margin to the left in 20 foot. The middle one, it's kind of out in no man's land where I found a few fish on the Echo Sounder, and it's a little bit deeper out there, about 23 foot, and the right hander is at 50 yards out towards peg 11 where there's a nice little plateau running off the side of this margin to my right. Now they're all on the same tactics. I'm using DNA's bug, just crushing a few up and putting them in a PVA bag alongside some maggots and casters, and all I'm doing is just fishing for 1 bite at a time. I always think it's important to not overdo things at this time of the year. The fish aren't moving much, so too much bait can kill things, and the catches from around the lake have been a lot slower, so you know it's a case of fishing for 1 bite at a time rather than trying to get multiple catches. But I'll give it another night and see if I can winkle one out, but if I'm honest, I'm not really that confident. It's proper winter fishing now, but I'll stick with it and update you on the state of play in the morning. God, I tell you what, it is proper cold today. It's about 2 degrees, it's chucking it down with rain. My hands are like blocks of ice, my lips are like barrage balloons, they feel like it at the minute because I can hardly talk. But and Bo's got mud all over, she's walking all over the inside of the bivvy, the sleeping bag, everything like that. There's mud everywhere, so it's been tough going. I don't think there's been anything out whilst I've been here, and the weather definitely doesn't look like it's going to get any better in this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive an hour or so, I think it's about an hour and a half, over to Girton, set up over there. It is raining over there at the minute, but again, it's another deep lake. There's a chance of getting bites at this time of the year, and it might pay off, because I do know at this time of the year it's definitely a good time for big fish. You've always got a chance for that just 1 bite, and it's a big one. You know, people ask me, does my enthusiasm for carp never wane? And yeah, it does. You know, this time of the year, when it gets down towards Christmas time, I'm ready to go in the house, sit in with the missus and enjoy a few of the home comforts and count down to Christmas, because I've fished quite a lot this year, but I can't even speak, it's that cold. The enthusiasm is still in me to to go and pursue big fish, and that's what you need. You know, people ask me about doing this kind of job. I'd love to do your job. I'd swap my job for doing what you do any day of the week, and I get that, I understand it, but certain people can do certain jobs and not everybody can do my job. They all think it's great, but when you've been fishing all year long, sometimes you just want to enjoy the home comforts of the house with your missus and stuff like that. But I'm still a passionate carp angler inside me, and there's a few guys that do my job that are like me, just constantly thinking about carp fishing. You're constantly wanting to be on the bank and chase fish. It's that addiction to carp, that carp fever that people talk about, and not everybody's got it. I've just got the rods left to reel in now. I'm going to reel them in. Everything in the car is soaking wet. The car's already started to steam up, and I'm going to get myself on the motorway, drive myself over to Girton, set everything up in the rain, and hopefully catch myself a fish over there, because it's been hard going over here. But either way, I'll be doing it again next week, and the week after, and the week after, because that is what carp fever is all about. I'm not too much into those old wives' tales, but I think it goes something like red sky in the morning, shepherd's a warning, and that is definitely a red sky over there. And it is 7 o'clock in the morning now. Things are just starting to come to life around the local area. The trains are moving, there's industry working, the robin's out. There's no fish action though at the moment. I've not had anything today, didn't get anything yesterday either, so yeah, it's fishing pretty tough. There's one out at the weekend, one of the lads had from Peg 15 I think, which is over by that white van over there, and I think it was a 20-pounder. But yeah, there's forecast of some pretty bad weather coming in this afternoon. There's some strong gales coming in. I don't know the name of the storm, but it's coming in from the north, and there is a good chance that we're going to get some snow showers, some thick heavy snow showers is what it says, with localised drifting. But it's just on the edge of where we are in West Yorkshire at the moment, so it might not be too bad. But yeah, knowing what it's like in this area, it definitely could be bad as well, so I might end up getting snowed in, but that's not a bad thing, because I've got plenty of food with me. Bo's got a warm jacket with her, I've got plenty of warm clothes with me as well, and we're fishing, which is so important at this time of the year to have the rods out. If you want to catch some decent fish in the winter, then you have got to endure these bad weather conditions. You've got to endure these long blank periods, long dark nights in the bivvy. And it is a bit boring, because you do tend to get your bites together, like grouped together, when they have these little feeding spurts in these kind of window periods. So yeah, you never know. If that snow does come in, we might get ourselves a nice snow carp, and I've not had one of those for a few years now, so fingers crossed something happens. But either way, it is nice to be out. It's pretty hard going, it's a bit of a mental slog in the winter time, but I'm used to it now. And I know how rewarding it can be if you do end up getting a nice fish in the winter. Proper little block of ice, this one. A lovely fish to catch in January. Gorgeous. Well, it's absolutely freezing at the moment, but that is exactly why you come to Ladywood in the winter. That is a stunning carp to catch, and I am proper chuffed. Lovely. Well, they say it's grim up north, and it's definitely that today. It's very bleak and grey, but the conditions are really good for catching a winter carp. We're at the back end of January and temperatures are around about double figures, which is not too bad for this part of the country. Now I know the lake's been fishing quite well over the weekend as well. There was a 40-pounder out, and we've got one of those little window periods that's just arrived where you can sit there all winter and not a great deal gets caught, and then when the conditions arrive that are perfect, the fish really switch on. So I'm really confident. Now I'm not in the swim that I've picked as my first choice. I mean, Peg 17, which is a corner swim, it's the first time I've fished in here. It does do bites in the winter, it's got some good depth in front of it, so what I'm going to be doing is targeting the deeper drop-offs. It goes down to about 20 foot, and then there's like a shelf, and then it drops down again to 24 foot, but generally the tactic is to fish just at the bottom of the shelf in about 20 foot, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Round to the right there's quite a few guys. Peg 18, there's a guy in there, a guy in 19, a couple of guys in Peg 1 as well, and there's bait boats and lines going all over the place, so this kind of venue is a little bit different to where I generally fish on those nice quiet syndicate waters, so I'm having to sit on my hands from time to time when I see those bait boats coming into the swim, but the carp are used to it. Got to get yourself into that frame of mind when you're fishing these lakes. There's going to be lines very close to where you're fishing, but we'll see how we get on. But it's definitely got a good track record of doing bites at this time of the year, so fingers crossed we might see something decent on the bank for us. They don't want to come in, these fish don't. They do fight well. Come on, up you come. There we go. In she goes. Lovely. That's nice. Nice, pretty, scaly mirror that is. Oh yeah, lovely. What a lovely looking fish. How about that then? That is a really nice carp to catch in winter, in Yorkshire, and on the day ticket. Fantastic stuff. That sun looks absolutely glorious at the moment, and there is a little bit of heat to it. I'm sat in the shelter of the bivvy at the moment, but that breeze blowing across the lake is very, very cold, so it's very deceiving. I've seen a lot of postings on Facebook over the last few days where people have been saying that spring's arrived, it's early this year, but you know, we're only in the early part of February at the moment, and there's still quite a long way to go. Only last year we were getting snow and rain and sleet in early April. Spring was really slow to arrive last year, so it wouldn't surprise me that we've still got some really bitter weather to come over the next few weeks. But that said, there's been quite a lot of decent fish getting caught from around the UK, and in Yorkshire it's not really kicked in yet. You know, from my years of working on Carp Talk, it tended to be from about the 22nd of March, which is the start of the spring equinox, when light levels start to become really important to switch things on, through to the summer solstice, when most of the big fish in Yorkshire tend to get caught. That's not to say that big uns don't get caught outside of those periods, because of course they do, but the majority of them, and certainly the majority of the ones that I've caught, have been from when the spring equinox starts till the summer solstice. That's when they all tend to go on a really big feed. You know, at the end of the day here as well, we've got a big volume of water, so it's going to need some warming up to get these fish really moving, and it's still just nicking a bite here and there. It's not really switched into its winter form yet, this lake. There's a lot of 30-pounders in this venue. There's about 50 of them, and even now there's not been many caught over the winter period, so it's been a real weird winter when the weather's been up and down. It's still not yet kicked in, I don't think, so it's still going to be quite difficult fishing over the next few weeks. I'm going to be really brief with this month's product plug, but it is a handy bit of kit and it doesn't need a great deal of explaining. It's called an any chair table and it's sold by Avid Carp. It fits onto most branded bed chairs and chairs, not just those that's sold by Avid, and it's ideal for keeping those essential items to hand. It can be detached in seconds and boasts a large recess to accommodate all sorts of bits and pieces. And if you shop around on the net, you can pick them up for about 30 quid. So if you want any more details, check them out at avidcarp.com. I've just got a little window period where the weather's calmed down because it's been really bad today. There's been driving rain, there's been some super strong winds as well with gusts well over 50 miles an hour. It's about 35 at the moment, but an hour or so ago it was pretty much hold on to the bivvy and make sure you're in a safe place. And luckily I checked the weather forecast and knew that this was coming. I'm not on the back of the wind, but I'm protected by an embankment behind me and there's no trees behind me as well. I've noticed on Facebook today that there's a few lakes closing over the weekend because of some really strong winds coming in, and there's obviously a risk of trees coming down. Certainly on the Sitch, which is one of the lakes in Shropshire, which is completely enclosed in trees, it's going to be pretty dangerous, and I noticed that they've closed it, which is a good shout by the boys down there. But I've fished in these sort of conditions on lots of different places. The worst is obviously on the big reservoirs in France, in places like the Orient and Chantecaut, where you can't move swim or anything like that. You just have to stay where you are, and obviously if you're fishing on top of mud, you need the right equipment with you. And I always ensure that in the car I've got loads of long bank sticks with me, which are always useful in places like this swim, because at the moment there's been so much rain that the bank itself is super soft, and normal sized pegs, which are about 6 inches long, something like that, they don't hold into the ground very well, even when the stone's about. So I've put a few long 12 and 18 inch bank sticks in on the side where the wind's battering into me, which is to my right at the moment, and hopefully it's going to hold tonight, because it is going to get a little bit worse tonight. But you know, you've got to be in it to win it. It's been pretty quiet the last couple of days, not had any bites. I did have a couple of fish on Monday when I was down, and you know, any time soon there's going to be some of these big ones getting caught. It is that time of year when they are about to wake up, and obviously with these conditions it's really warm, it's low pressure as well, it is good carp catching conditions. So you know, the carp angler in me needs to be out here, and I actually enjoy it. I do enjoy fishing in these tough conditions, but you do need to make sure that you're comfortable, and obviously you do need to make sure that you're safe. You know, I always ensure that I'm set up on the back of the wind and I'm well prepared. And obviously at the moment I've got the door down so you can see outside, but at night it's going to be zipped right up, because if you have anything flapping on a bivvy where there's a wind, there's always a chance of that flap working a few of the pegs out, and then before you know it the bivvy's upended, and you know, you sat there trying to find things in the dark, which has happened to me before now. It's been said many times before that in the winter you're just waiting for those little windows of opportunity to arrive, and this is my third one in the last day and a half. So yeah, things are happening, and there's been quite a few fish out around the lake as well, so it's perfect conditions. Let's hope we can get a bigger one. Morning has broken, and yes, the right hand rod is missing, because a few moments ago, what is it now, it's about 6:30, probably about 5:45, I've had another bite on the zig rod, and pitch black obviously, so definitely worth persevering with zigs in the dark on this place, because they're finding the hook baits, and both fish that I've landed have been well hooked in the mouth as well. I did lose one last week on a zig as well, which didn't feel like a big fish, and actually the one that I've got down there isn't particularly big. It's probably about 16-17 pounds, and the one I landed last week was a similar sort of size, albeit it was a mirror. This one's a common. So if you're after a bit of action, definitely persevere with the zigs. And my own thoughts on zigs anyway are that, yeah, they get you bites, but generally speaking, they're not a good big fish tactic. Yes, you can catch them on zigs, but you've got a better chance of catching big fish with bottom baits, which is why I've persevered with 2 rods on the bottom baits at the moment, because if I am going to catch a good one out of here, it's going to be on one of those rods. The zigs get you bites, keep you active, and obviously it is winter at the minute, so I don't mind getting the odd bite here and there. So we'll take a look at the zig that I've been using in a short while, because I've never really covered zigs in my vlogs before. And for now though, we'll just take a look at this fish and get it on the mat and see how cold it is. It's probably going to be like a block of ice, like they all are at the moment, because although the weather's been fairly decent this week, it's not likely to have had much of an effect on the water temperature, and you know, they're still sitting mid-water, which is a sign that they've not really woken up yet, although it is definitely getting closer and closer towards spring. Quite that's freezing. But very welcome on a zig at first light this morning. How about this then, Ladywood regulars? There's nobody else here apart from me, which is absolutely crazy for this place, because it is quite a busy water. I think the least amount of anglers I've ever seen on here is 4, and that was last night. But those 3 other guys have packed up and gone home, leaving just me here. Now, I was going to leave myself today, but the conditions are pretty good. There's been blue sky, there's been a bit of warmth in the sun. You can tell that spring's not too far away. And I caught one this morning as well on a zig, so I've decided to bring in one of the bottom bait rods, because I had 2 out on the bottom, and change that over to zig and put 2 zigs out here and try and make the most of this reduced amount of pressure. Now all I've done is taken the bait boat out there, found some pockets of fish that are sitting mid-water and dropped the zigs in those areas. And one of them I've put over 24 foot with a zig of about 12 foot, and the other one I've put over 20 foot with a zig of about 10 foot. So I'm using fairly long hook links. I'm using Avid zig line, which is nice and light, it's nice and buoyant, it's very strong as well. I'm using 10 pound because there aren't too many obstructions out in front of me here, and it's been working as well. And on the hook, all I'm using is a PB 10mm pop-up from DNA Baits. That keeps everything nice and buoyant and off the lake bed and out the way. And I'm just tipping that with 4 maggots. So, you know, pretty simple tactics, but as I say, the conditions are pretty good at the moment, so it's nice to make the most of this reduced angling pressure on this lake, because it is actually a really nice place to be when there's nobody else about and putting bait boats in front of you. Does feel like a big fish day. O'clock in the afternoon, 1 toner, left hand rod, little solid bag, there's the other side of it. Boilies. And that is an absolute beauty. Winter carping in Yorkshire, and that's the perfect way to end this month's vlog. Hope you enjoyed watching.